Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast Training Series. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos. In this episode, we are going to be looking at Perplex. Perplex is one of those powers that in the game of HeroClix really ties with Prob as one of the top powers in the game overall. No matter what, any situation you're in, you pretty much can use Perplex. Stat modification on your opponent or on your own force is always going to be useful. So let's look at it. Perplex. Give this character a free action to modify by +1 or -1 any combat value of a target character until the beginning of your next turn. A character using this power must be within 10 squares in line of fire of the target. If a target's character is damaged or healed, the effect of Perplex on that character ends immediately. Ooh, wow. That's a lot. So let's look at it. Perplex. Being able to give a +1 or -1 stat until that figure is healed or takes damage. And it lasts until the beginning of your next turn, which can be awesome. And here's why. Let's say, for example, that your opponent is packing a whopping 12 attack, and your defense is at 18. Perplexing up to a 19 gives you a really good chance of surviving that attack. So the difference between your opponent's attack and your defense is no longer 6, but 7. Or you can be in a situation in which your opponent is going to attack next turn. There is nothing else that you can do. But you have 2 perplexes on your team, and all of a sudden their whopping 12 attack turns into a 10 after you use the perplexes. Or your opponent has a figure that is going to KO your figure next turn, but your opponent needs exactly 3 damage to do it. So you use Perplex, 2 Perplex down your opponent's damage down to 1, giving your figure a chance, minus a critical hit, to survive. So Perplex is one of those powers that can be really, really awesome because no matter what, we can always find a use for Perplex. As long as my opponent has 4 slots that contain stats, I can always use Perplex. As long as I have 4 slots that contain stats, I can always use Perplex. Now, so what type of powers do we want to team up with Perplex? Really, in all honesty, anything. Anything works well. There is no bad combination to Perplex. Okay? None whatsoever. Okay? So whatever you have on Perplex, whether it's a big attacker, a cheap figure, mid-range attacker, mid-range figure, go wild. Just pick, a Perplex. The biggest thing that I would want to say is just make sure that when you use Perplex that you know who you're going to be using it on, if it's going to be your opponent or your own team or whatnot. Having a Perplex and then knowing that you really don't want that figure out in the open, you might want to just focus on your own team. Or if it has some other effect to it, you might want to measure how that other effect is being used. Okay, so when all said and done, how are we going to train with Perplex? Real simple. I want you to make a team of all Perplexers. Real simple. All Perplex on their opening click, play the game, and let's make it easy, 400 points, and then see what happens. And then ask yourself, was the game easy because of Perplex, or was it the fact that the Perplex allowed you to more easily do what you normally do? All right, that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video.